Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Angular bot with AWS Lex tutorial. In first part, we talked about that what is AWS Lex service, why we should use it. We also learned about some concept like intent, utterances, slot, confirmation prompt, and different channels. We also learned about that what application we are building. We are building a chatbot using Angular. We will be developing a web page that will have a text area to display conversation between our user and bot. Our web page will also be having a text input field in which user will input his question or response. And once he click on the send button, the query will be forwarded to Lex service. And bot response will also be updated in the text area. To watch the first part of the video, please follow the link in the description. Please also like and subscribe to get a notification when I upload any video. Now we got a fair overview that what we are trying to do here. So let's get started and start writing some code. So open a terminal window if you are a Mac user. A Windows user can open a command prompt. At this point, I assume that you already have Node.js installed on your system and it is up to date. So let's first install Angular. Type the command npm space install -g at angular/cli. So we are using G option to install Angular globally, not just for this project, but storing it in our system. So once you press enter, it will install Angular CLI on your system. Now since Angular is installed on our system, let's create a new Angular project. So you can create a new Angular project by typing the command ng space new and your project name. Here we are using lex-demo app. So once you press enter, it is going to ask you a few questions. So first question, it is asking whether you want to enable routing in your application or not. So here I selected yes, because we want to utilize routing. And once you press enter, it is asking me the next question, what kind of style sheet format we want to use. So with the help of arrow keys, you can change your options, which one you would like to use. But here I'm selecting CSS and pressing enter. Once I press enter, Angular will start creating my project and it will try downloading and adding all required dependencies what we needed. It takes a minute or two to create this project, so I will wait until this is finished processing. Now if you see, application is installed successfully and Angular had initialized our project successfully. So now let's go to the directory cd lex-demo. This is where we created our application. So now what we will do, we will try to start the Angular app so that we can see that everything got created successfully. So I'm using the command ng space serve space SSL true. So we are starting the server in the SSL mode. So it will take a minute to start the application. It is going to download all required dependencies. It will compile all Angular modules. And once everything is in good standing, it will run all those modules and start our application. And then it will also print the URL of the application. So we can go to the browser and we can look at how our application is looking like. Now if you see, application is compiled and it is deployed at localhost. So you can copy the URL from here and the port number, and you can go to browser and take a look at how our application look like. So here I have my application in Chrome. It is giving a warning that certificate is not valid, but just click on continue. It is just a warning message Chrome provides if it is not able to validate the certificate. And now here you see, this is the default application which we created using Angular. So if you see, like Angular has added a lot of component or instructions just to give us a easy way to navigate through Angular documentation. So we are going to delete all of this stuff which we don't require, and we will just add a text area here, and we will also add a input box. So now let's open this source code in the VSS code editor. I'm using VSS because it is lightweight and it provides support for TypeScript syntax highlighting. So now I have opened the VSS code and browsing through for my code. So here I will go to my source code directory and I'm going to open this. So now our project is opened in Visual Studio Code. So we will navigate through some of those core components. So first we will going to look at the package.json file. This JSON file describes all your application dependencies. Next important file is index.html. This HTML file serves as the basis for your application and defines your single page application. Next important file is style.css. This CSS file is the application's main style sheet file and contains your application label CSS classes. Currently it is empty, but we are going to add some source code here. Next important file is app-routing.module.ts. TS stands for TypeScript. So this file is located in src app/app-routing-module.tss and contains your application flow and how a user navigate through your application. So if you have multiple component or multiple page in your application, this is where you define all of them. Next file is application component.html. This file contains the application structure. So you can define headers, footer, and a routing outlet in this file. This file will be replaced based on the page we will now navigate to. So we will be replacing the content of this file in the code which we needed. So what we are doing is here we are going through application component.html and we are copying all the CSS code from this file. So what we will do, we will cut it simply and we will go to style.css file and which is like empty file, and now we are pasting everything here. Now we will go back to app component.html file and we need to delete all of the source code from this file which we don't need. So what we are keeping, we are just keeping the header part of the application. So I'm deleting everything other than that navigation bar or header bar what we have. That way we are clearing all the Angular documentation content which have been added to the file by default. So we deleted everything. We are just keeping the navigation bar. So now save our application. Now if you take a look at the web page, now it is all cleaned up. It has only the top navigation which we want to keep it in our application, and other part of the page is completely empty. So now what we need to do is we need to add source code for the text area, which we are going to utilize for recording the conversation between our user and the chatbot. And we are also going to add an import field where user can input their query, and a send button by clicking on which we will be sending that input query to the LAX service. So now we have cleared all the HTML which we don't require in this page and pasted this few lines of code here. I have added a text area. The name of the text area is conversation, where we will be recording the user input and the bot responses together. And then we have a text input field called message. Here user will be typing their queries. And the next one, we have a submit button. So whenever user clicks on this button, user's response will be sending back to the bot and bot will be responding to that. Now if you look at the HTML code here, now we have our nice UI looking. We have a read only text area and we have a input text box and there is a send button next to it. So we haven't made any changes to Angular JS code so far. It is just a simple HTML. Now next thing what we need to do is we need to make some changes into our source code and connect these text area and text input field to the backend of our application. So I'm defining an ng model. So ng model equals to, I'm giving a name to conversation. So in order to use ng model, we need to have a form module append to our class, which we will be configuring later on. So here I'm defining ng model is equal to conversation, and for text input I'm defining ng model is equal to message. So that way we are binding these form elements to our Angular controllers. Now we have a submit button also. So I need to define a click event. So whenever user try to click on that button, we are binding it to a JavaScript method which will get executed. So so I'm defining this binding through the click. This is Angular notation. So click equal to, I'm giving a method name called start chat. So as soon as user click on this one, this method is gonna execute within our Angular component, start chat. So if you see and refresh the page, now it will having all errors. The reason for errors is that we have declared these ng model and start chat functions, but we haven't defined them in our component, which we will be doing later. So at this point you might be seeing error, but don't worry about it. Now this is time to configure AWS Amplify in our project, and how we configure is by typing the command npm install AWS Amplify. So what it will do, it will download the Amplify module and configure that in our Angular project. So if you see, I have typed npm install AWS Amplify and press enter, and now it is downloading and configuring it. So it will take about 30 to 40 seconds. Now we have installed AWS Amplify, so it is time to now configure AWS Amplify. So let's type the command amplify init. So once we do that, it will ask for the name of the project. So I choose here Lex Demo, which is kind of default name I choose. Now then it is asking me what kind of environment we are creating this application for. So I choose dev. Next thing, it is asking what kind of source code editor we are using, and there is options to select it. So with the help of arrow up or down keys, you can navigate through. Here we are using Visual Studio Code, so I'm selecting that. Next question, it is asking what kind of application which we are building. So it is like Android or JavaScript or iOS application. So we choose here JavaScript because our application is a JavaScript application. Next thing is asking what kind of framework we are using. So we are using Angular framework, so I selected Angular. Next thing it is asking is what is our source directory. So src is our source directory. We are using DST for distribution. We are using npm run script build command to build our project. So I'm not changing anything, I'm just trying to keep it default. And to start our server, we are using ngserve. So I'm selected ngserve. Now it is giving us information that it is using AWS Cloud Formation in order to provision our resources in the backend. It is asking us whether we want to utilize an AWS profile, yes or no. So I selected no because we are not using any AWS profile. Now it is asking me to provide access key and secret keys. So at this point, I assume that you already have an AWS valid user and you have programmatic access for that user enabled. So you need to copy your access key and secret keys in order to allow AWS Amplify to connect to the backend of AWS services. So we need to configure that information here so that AWS Amplify is able to create resources on behalf of us. Now it is asking me to select what region I want to create these resources, and with the help of arrow keys we can navigate through and we can choose what region we want to select. Here I am choosing US East 1 because that's where I want to create my projects. So at this point, once you press enter, AWS Amplify will try to create few resources in S3 buckets and upload the CloudFormation template, and it will try to create those resources for you. At this point, it is not going to create any Lex service specific resources. It is just creating some roles and buckets with what it needs to configure the project. So Aws Amplify is very modular, so you keep adding modules and then it start creating those dependencies in your project. So at this point we have initialized the project. Now it is time to start configuring our Lex service into our project. So to do that, we need to add interactions module to Aws Amplify. So this is the command which we need to use, amplify add interactions. So now it will start asking us questions related to our Lex service, so that we can provision those resources and we can provide that configuration what AWS needed in order to create those resources. So first question, it is asking that what is the default name of our friendly name of our bot. So I chooses to default. I haven't changed it. Next question, it is asking us that would you like to create this chatbot from the start, or you want to use a sample. In order to demonstrate you guys like what all configuration is needed, I'm choosing start from scratch. So first thing, it is asking what is the name of our bot. So I'm choosing my chatbot. Next question, it is asking whether it is a text-based application or it is a voice-based. So we can select if it is voice-based, what kind of voice it will use, male or female. But here, for the simplicity of this article, I'm using none, which is basically we are just creating a text-based application. Next question, it is asking that how long the session timeout. So we can specify the time in minutes. So I'm choosing 1. So basically that how long bot will be waiting for a user's response. So suppose they need to collect some data in a slot, so how long they need to wait for it. Next question is related to a compliance. So if your application needs to be used by children, you need to comply for COPA certification. But this application is a sample application. We don't want to use it by children or anything, or we are not creating anything fancy. So I'm choosing no for this question. Now, next question, it is asking what is the name of your intent. So now we are creating a new intent, and intent is basically what is the purpose of our application or what we want to achieve through this. So I choose hotel reservation because that's what we want to do using this application, and this is the main function. So you can create one or more intent and you can configure to use them together. So suppose I want to create a hotel reservation which can be followed by a taxi reservation. So we can configure to use two intents, one for hotel reservation, another one for taxi reservation. But here we're just creating a hotel reservation. So next thing, it is asking the sample utterances. So in order to invoke our intent, we need to specify some sample utterances. So whenever a user type those utterances, our intent can be invoked. So here we want to invoke our intent whenever somebody is typing or putting a question to our bot like book a hotel. Now it is asking me, you want to add another utterances? Yeah, definitely I want to add a couple of them, or like 3 or 4, so that I have a more reach for my bot. So another one I have added is a plan a trip. So whenever somebody type in plan a trip or book a hotel, it will invoke my intent. The next question, it is next utterance it is I have chosen here is to go to hotel. It is asking, do you want to add more utterance? Yes, I want to add one more. I will say trip to hotel. I don't want to add any more utterances, and later on we can change this configuration or add more utterances if we need to through AWS console, but for now I think 4 utterances are fine. Now it is asking me, do you want to add slots? Yeah, definitely we need some slots in order to collect some personal information from the user so that we can create a reservation for him. So first slot is I'm going to collect is user's first name, so that a reservation can be created on name of somebody. Slot is basically kind of your variable where you want to collect the data. So here I'm choosing first name. So this is the variable I will store the user response when I'm asking a question related to this slot. And then next thing we can ask user is, or next thing, this configuration will ask us like what is the data type of this particular slot. So data type is something, yeah, you can use built-in Amazon built-in slot types. You can create your own slot types. If you already have created another bot and created some custom data type, you can use them there. For the first name, I want to create a or I want to utilize a built-in data type, which is like Amazon _us dot first name. So what it will do, it will basically make sure that whatever user is providing the input, it matches the validation applicable to this particular data type. So if you try to give a special characters or something, bot will make that validation and it will know that this is not a valid US first name, and it will ask the same question again back to the user. Now it is asking for a prompt, like what is the prompt we want to give to the user so that user can supply their first name. So here I'm configuring, please tell me your first name, and it is asking whether this slot needs to be required type or no. So definitely we need the first name from the user, so I'm selecting yes, definitely it is a yes. Then it is asking me to add more slots. Yeah, definitely we need to add few more slots. So here I selected yes, and now I need to collect the last name of the user. So I'm choosing last name as my slot name, and the value of that last name will be collected in the last name variable. For the data type here, I'm going to select Amazon.us _ last name. So it will make sure and validate against this particular data type that whatever user is applying to us, it matches the validations what is already in place. Then it is asking me what is the prompt you want to give to the user to collect the last name. So at this point, we already collected the first name of the user. So I don't want this application to be dumb. I want this application to be more engaging with the user. So what I'm doing is I'm referring user by the first name. So once you collected a slot, you can start referring it by giving those curly braces and specifying the particular variable which you selected. So here we are saying, hey, first name, what is your last name? So if you just applied Amar in the first name during the first slot, it will say, hey Amar, what is your last name? So it feels more appealing and it is feel more engaging to the user, and user may feel like they are really interacting with somebody sitting behind the screen, and it will give them a feel that they are talking to some human, not some machine. Now it is asking me whether this slot is required. Yeah, definitely we need the last name from the user. So we are selecting yes. Now we need to add few more slots. So we need to enter the name of that slot. So this time what we need is we need the city information from the user, that where that person wants to go in order to book a hotel. So we are using again built-in data type. You can use the name of the airport or you can use a US city. So we are going to choose Amazon.us city, so that whatever the reservation we are creating for a valid city. So we choose Amazon.us city. Now it is asking like what is the prompt for this slot. So we are asking user what city you are planning to travel. So that way it is feeling like somebody is sitting on a reservation desk and asking users the question, hey, what city you are planning to go. Now we need to add another slot. So now we already collected the first name, last name and city where user wants to go. Now the next thing is what date user wants. We are going to choose a built-in data type, which is again we want start date to be a date, not somebody driving XYZ in that request. So we can choose Amazon.date, which is like inbuilt data type. Now we are specifying a prompt for collecting the start date. We are saying like what date you need this reservation for. So user is providing the information to us that hey, these guys need the date I want to create reservation for. So that's what we are collecting. Now the last slot which we need is end date of the reservation. So we need like when reservation started and by which date this person will be checking out. So we are going to collect that checkout date in the end date slot type. And again, this is a date. So we are going to collect into the data type of Amazon.date. So during the demo, I will show you one thing. It is like very, very intelligent bot. So if you say, hey, create a reservation for today. So it knows that when you talk today, what date it means. And if you say, you want to check out tomorrow. So it is able to connect, okay, this person said like start date was today, end date is tomorrow. So it is able to collect both of those dates. So it is really smart bot. So we are asking user what date you will be checking out. This will be our prompt to the user. Now it is asking whether it's a required or not. So it is required. And next thing it is saying like, would you like to add another slot? So now we are done collecting the data like first name, last name, start date, end date, and the city where user is going. So I'm going to select no, we don't need any more slot. Now it is asking us a confirmation prompt to play back to the user. So a confirmation prompt is something you collected the data from the user. Now you want to play back that data to the user and you want to confirm that whatever you have collected, it is correct or not. So you can give an option to the user, hey, you want us to proceed, this is the information we have collected from you, or you want to cancel it. So user can respond back with yes or no, and based on that you can proceed. So in this confirmation prompt, we are going to refer the data whatever we have collected from the users. So in this particular confirmation prompt, we are saying, dear first name, last name, are you sure that you want to reserve a hotel in city name from start date to end date? So it is giving our user an opportunity to looking at the data what he has provided and then agreeing to it or saying yes or no. If user reply yes, then we will go ahead and fulfill his requirement by executing a Lambda, or just in our application we are just going to display the same data back to the user. And if they say no, then you can present a cancel message for the user. So now it's kind of cancel confirmation. So you collected the data, you play it back through the confirmation prompt, and now user selected no. Now you want to reply back with the thank you message. So you don't want your user to let go. If somebody decided, hey, I don't want to create a reservation with you or something, you at least want to say thanks to you. So in this cancel message, we are going to refer and we'll say, thank you, first name, last name, your reservation have been cancelled. So we are telling them, hey, whatever the data or whatever intent you invoked, you interacted with us, you provided your information, but you decided not to create the reservation. So thank you, your reservation have been cancelled. So now we have collected all required data. Now it is coming to the fulfillment section of that. So fulfillment is giving us an option like whether we want to execute an AWS Lambda function, which basically use in like services to do any kind of fulfillment to the user's intent. Or another option is we just simply return those parameters to the client. Since this is a sample chatbot, we are not going to create an AWS Lambda and try to create a real reservation, but here we are going to choose just return the parameters what client provided to us back to the client. So I'm choosing here return parameters to the client. Now we are done creating our first intent. Now it is giving us an option to create another intent. So that way you can sequence your intent. Once one is fulfilled, you can execute the another one. But for the simplicity and to understand the concept, we are deciding not to create another intent. Now all of this configuration or resources have been added, but at this point AWS Amplify has not been provisioned these resources in our AWS environment. So in order to create these resources in our environment, what we need to do is we need to run a different command, amplify push. All of these changes are currently local sitting in our system. So it is just configured and that information is still local to your system. Once you type the command amplify push, what it will do, it will take this configuration, use the cloud formation to create these resources for you. So after successful execution of that amplify push, you can log into your AWS console and you can see those resources have been created for you. So let's type the command AWS amplify push and then it will create those resources for you. So here I type amplify push and press enter. Now Amplify has start interacting with our AWS backend. So what it will do, it will use the cloud formation template. It will take the configuration which we have provided. Now you see that Amplify have successfully created these resources for us. And it is, now we typed amplify push, and what it is saying, it is using that it is going to add all of these resources into the development environment, and there are two modules it is going to configure, and it is asking for a confirmation to proceed. We decided yes. So at this point, what it is doing, it is going back to our AWS environment, taking this configuration and trying to provision those resources through AWS stacks. So what it is doing, it is executing AWS Cloud Formation templates behind the scene and taking this configuration and applying to those resources. So once this command will be successful, we will be able to log into our AWS console and we can see all of those resources have been created for us. Now if you see, all of these resources are updated in the cloud. So AWS Amplify is giving this confirmation message back to us. So it confirmed like all of our resources have been provisioned in our AWS environment. So now what we will do, we will log into our AWS console and we will go to Amazon. So now go to Amazon Lex service, and before that, like, let's go to cloud formation to show that what resources it have created for us. So now I'm in my AWS cloud formation console, and here you can see that first it created a stack and then it updated those resources for us. And if you click any of these status of these stacks, you can find out like what resources it have created for us. So here you can see the different resources it have created. So now let's go and click on any one of them and you can see what resources it created. So it created an authentication role, it created a deployment bucket from where it can read that cloud formation template, then it done that unauth role, then it updated the DSSP function. So there is a bunch of history you can find out exactly that what AWS Amplify done with the configuration we provided. If you see here, it has created a AWS Cognito pool also. So behind the scene, Lex service uses AWS Cognito. So if you want to read more about AWS Cognito, I will leave a link in the description. There is another tutorial specifically I done on AWS Cognito service. So now we are back to the Amazon Lex console, and here you can see we created our first Lex service. Click on that one and it will take you to the detailed view of the console. So here you can see the intent which we have created, and you can see the different utterances which we supplied through the AWS Amplify console. And here you have opportunity to delete any one of them or edit any one of them or add a new one. So you simply click on type your utterance here in this text box and you can click add, and that utterance will get added to the list. So suppose here I want to add plan a trip or plan to the hotel, or if I just want to say hi, you can type anything and then click on this add button. So here I'm adding like go to hotel, or here I'm typing I want to go to hotel and clicked on add button. So now if you see that utterances have been added to my intent. So whenever I will try this from the text area or text input field which we have in our application, my intent can get invoked. Here you can specify some Lambda initialization and validation. Whenever your intent get invoked, you can provide that configuration here. If you see here, there is a list of different slots which we have added to our application. So first name, last name, city name, start date, end date, all of those slots are here. If you want to add a new slot, you can just click on the name field, provide what is the name of your slot, select a data type, and provide a message in the prompt box and simply click on add. So these utterances get executed in the order which we specify, but if you want to change the order, you can use these up and down arrows and you can change that configuration. You can also change the prompt messages, whatever we have provided from the configuration. Next section is confirmation prompt. So this is displaying the confirmation prompt and the cancel message what we supplied through the console. If you don't like anything, you can add that here. Next section is the fulfillment section. So you can choose a AWS Lambda function here, and you will be able to create a new Lambda function, or if you already have anything, you can select it here. For the simplicity, we are just returning the parameters to the client, and we can add a response message back to the client here, whatever we want to return it. But I'm not doing anything, so just leaving it as it is. Now, since we made some configuration changes, we just need to click on the save intent here. Next section, we will go to that error handling part. So something, if your bot is not able to understand it, it can ask a clarification question back to the user, what you exactly mean. So here you can specify those information. So here, like, I'm sorry, I didn't get, or I didn't hear it. So, or like, can you repeat this again, or you can say that again. You can also add additional clarification prompt. So what Amazon Lex service will do, it will use randomly one of these messages to ask more clarification from the question. So suppose if you say first name and you provide some garbage value back to the bot wouldn't understand, and it will send you an error handling or send you a clarification prompt from this list. Next thing is like hang up phrase. So suppose if you want that, or you want to disconnect this conversation with the bot, one of these messages, if your user type, that will hang up the conversation. Next thing is setting. In the setting, we have aliases, so you can refer your bot with different aliases, like a production version or a dev version. Those things you can specify here. So you can also see that bot has CloudWatch integration, so you can see all of these descriptions there. In the general section, you can specify a description to your bot, and you can choose like what output voice you want to select. So you can make your bot to be like a different voice sections, which you have like a male voice, a female voice. You can select here. You can specify what is the session timeout. You can specify whether you want to do sentiment analysis. So if your user is happy, your user is sad, those kind of sentiment analysis also bot can do. Then you can specify like what is the confidence score you want to connect. Like, so all of this is prediction based, like all machine learning stuff is prediction based. So you can specify what confidence level you want. In the channel section, you can select different channels. So you can deploy your bot to Facebook Messenger, you can deploy it to Cake, Slack, or you can integrate it with Twilio SMS. But in our case, we are not using any Facebook or SMS integration. We are simply writing a JavaScript Angular application, and we are integrating our bot with the web page which we are developing. But it is very easy to integrate all these platforms listed here. The last section which we have it here is the monitoring. So our Lex service has like very good integration with CloudWatch monitoring. So you can see like how many times your bot is getting executed, how many utterances it is responding to, what is the how many test requests are coming, text requests are coming, how many voice requests are coming. So all of these information you can see in the monitoring section. And then the utterances performance also you can see in the monitoring section. So now we have reviewed this configuration. So let's start building this bot. And once we build it, now we are going to do some testing on this one. So there is, in the right side, there is a test chatbot option. So if you see, there is a test chatbot option, just click on that. And once you click on that and your bot is ready to use, you can start typing your question here. So AWS provide very nice and easy way to integrate with their bot in a testing environment. So now bot is built. So I will just type a text prompt, suppose hi, because that's one of our utterances here, which I changed recently. So as soon as I say hi, it is asking me, please tell me your first name. Now I can type Amar, that's my first name, and I specify Deep. So it is asking me, please tell me your first name again, because in the US first name validation, what we have it is not considering a space between the name. So now I corrected that, and then I say Amardeep is my name. So now, hey, Amardeep. So now it is referring my last name. It is asking me the last name. So I provided last name is Singh. Then it is asking what city you are planning to travel. So I said New York. So it is asking me what date you need to make the reservation for. So it is asking me the start date basically in our slots. So I said today. So this bot is really intelligent. When you supply today, it is not looking for just a date, so it can convert from a word to a date, and a checkout date I specify as tomorrow. So it is able to convert these dates, and it is able to display this confirmation back to me. So this is our confirmation. Dear Amardeep saying, please confirm that you want to go from this day to this day to this city. So it is really intelligent, and I supplied yes. So since we are not using any fulfillment, it is just displaying that information back to us. So now at this point our bot is ready and we are able to use it. We tested it. Now it is time to start making some change to our web application. Now we are done creating our bot. So at this point our backend is ready and our AWS environment provision, we tested it and our bot is functioning. Now this is the time we need to start making some changes to our source code so that our source can start interacting with the backend service what we have. So first thing what we need to do is we need to go to polyjs.ts, and I added a small amount of code there, if you see here, so that we don't get any error in our code. So next thing is we are going to app component.html file, and there we are using some ng models, but we never defined those. So what we need to do is we need to go to our app component.typescript file, and what we will do, we will start adding these models there so that our code can start working. Remember, like initially when we were added these dependencies, it start giving some errors to us. So what I'm doing here, I'm copy pasting some code which is basically nothing fancy. I'm just importing some of those AWS interaction modules. I'm importing the router module, I am importing form module, and then I'm defining the title of our application which is already existing. Then I'm defining this ng model called conversation, and then we are having the message, and these conversation or the models what we defined in our HTML, we are trying to create those in our app component. So then I start defining a function called start chat. This is basically whenever user click on the send button, this is what going to execute. So here I'm specifying that whenever this button is executed, I'm taking the conversation and I'm typing like you and then this dot message. So basically I'm combining the input, like current input whatever we have it, or current value whatever we have it in our text area, and combining with what user has typed in the text input field. And then we are making a call in asynchronous mode to our interaction.send method, and then specifying that input whatever user has typed. So if user type whatever input field user has typed in the message box, we are taking that value and we are sending that as a input to the interactions.send method, and whatever the response we get it, we are just logging it, and then we are clearing out the message input box, and then we are appending the bot response back to the conversation text area. So whenever user type anything into the input box, clicks start chat function, get executed, it takes whatever in the text area, append your query to it, and then makes a call to the interaction service, and then the response of that bot is get appended into the text conversation area. So before we start to the server, we need one more changes which we need to make into our app module.typescript file. We haven't configured our Amplify CLI here. So at this point our application doesn't have any information that how to interact with the backend of our application, so we need to provide that configuration. So we need to import that form module because we are using ng model in our application, so we need to import this form module in order to work. We need that amplify, and we also need interactions from the AWS Amplify module. So we need these dependencies in our application, and once we have these dependencies, what we need to do is we need to provide some configuration. So one thing is like we need to import form module. If you don't import form module here, it is not gonna work, because whenever you have ng module in your Angular application, you need to import the form module. Now I'm pasting some source code which is amplify.configure, And then here if you see, there is a auth module and there is a interaction module. So auth module is something, it uses identity pool which we created earlier. So by default AWS Lex service uses AWS Cognito for authentication purpose. So if you go to the aws.export.js file, here you can find this identity pool ID, which basically gets generated when we are configuring the AWS Amplify push. So now this identity pool, you can specify what region you are belonging, what region your application is, you specify the region. In the interaction side, what you need to provide, the information about the bot. So all of this information is available in aws-export.js file. So you can copy it from there and you can paste it here. Part of this amplified or configured is about your authentication, which is basically your Cognito information. And second part is configuration about your bot. So now we have all of this information, and this make sure that interaction.send have the same bot name what we are using in the configuration. So now save all of this information, and this is the time where we can restart our server so that, and we can see it if all of this information is coming together well and it is working or not. So let's just type the command ng serve space -ssl is equal to true. So it will take a couple of minutes in order to start the application, and once application is start, we can see our UI, and then we can try testing it whether everything is working or not. Now if you see, everything is compiled well and our server is started. So now let's go to the localhost 4200 port and we can refresh the page and we can see that application is coming up. And now we have our UI here, we have our text area, nothing is there because we haven't done anything. Then we have our input. So now let's start typing book a hotel, which is basically one of our utterances in our application, and then click on send. So at this point I'm expecting when as soon as we click on send, our input get added. And if you see here, as soon as we type book a hotel and click on send, bot responded, please tell me your first name. And I'm saying my first name is Ryan. And bot is responding, hey Ryan, what is your last name? So let's give a last name. I'm saying my last name is Belton. So it is basically, we are able to interact with the bot and we are responding to the bot questions. And now we provided what city we want to go, and bot is asking like what date you want to go. So I'm saying like I want to create reservation for tomorrow. Then it is asking like when we will be checking out. So it is now asking us the end date in our slot. And see like how smart it is. Like we are saying day after tomorrow. So it is able to make the context between two inputs. So it is able to get the date, like we starting tomorrow and we are checking out day after tomorrow, and all of that it is playing back on the confirmation prompt. Now we said like yes, create our reservation, and once it is done, it is just giving us a confirmation back like your hotel room booking is complete. So now we have created our front-end application, we configured AWS Amplify, we looked at the stuff in the backend, and now everything is placed together and our demo is complete. So in order to download the source code, you can I have uploaded all of this here. You can go to the URL. I will leave this URL in the description as well, and you can get everything working. So now here is the conclusion of all of this. Amazon Lex is cost effective. You pay for what you use. It is free text requests. So there are like 10,000 of text requests free for the first year. Free speech requests. So there are like 5,000 speech requests free for the first year. There is a text conversion price. So cost for each text request is 0.004, which is less than even a cent. So it's very cheap. Speech request pricing is also very cheap. It is 0.00075. So this service is like really cheap. You pay what you use for. And in this tutorial, we have created a bot from the scratch. We are able to integrate with our application. So now I hope you have a good understanding of all of the Lex service, what it does, what it is used for. So if you want to connect with me, you can go through my LinkedIn profile, you can send me a connection request, you can follow me on Twitter, Teach Me More, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Teach Me More. If you want to get any answer or any help, you can send me an email, amar@rbssystems.com. You can follow me on GitHub, you can subscribe to my GitHub repository. So thank you guys for watching this video and making to the last of this video. I will try producing this kind of content. Please try to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. I hope you find it very useful for yourself, and with the help of this video you can create chatbot application and give the power of AI to your applications. Please feel free to reach out to me for any help or any questions you have. Thank you.